You grew up in a world that was meant to be your safest haven, a nurturing cocoon where love flowed freely and unconditionally, shielding you from the harshness outside. But for you, it became a labyrinth of fear and uncertainty, where the very people tasked with protecting you became the source of your deepest wounds. Maybe the abuse was overt and unrelenting, thunderous yells that reverberated through your home like earthquakes, physical violence that left not just marks on your body, but fractures in your spirit, neglect that made you feel like a ghost in your own life, invisible and unworthy of even the most basic care. Or perhaps it was more covert, a slow poison seeping into your everyday existence. Endless criticism that chipped away at your self-esteem until you felt hollow, love that was conditional, dangled like a carrot only when you met impossible standards, emotional manipulation that gaslit you into questioning your own sanity, your own memories, your own right to feel hurt. Either way, the indelible message etched itself into the core of your being. Your needs are trivial, your pain is overstated, your very presence is a burden to be tolerated rather than cherished. You survived it, though. Oh, how you survived. Against all odds, you gathered the fragments of your shattered self, escaped the suffocating grip of that environment, and began the arduous, beautiful process of healing. You rediscovered your worth in quiet moments of reflection, learned to trust your instincts after years of them being dismissed, and slowly rebuild a life where you could breathe freely, where boundaries weren't luxuries but necessities. It's a victory that deserves celebration, a testament to the unyielding resilience that lives within you, even when the world tried to snuff it out. But as you stepped into the broader tapestry of adulthood, seeking solace, connection, and perhaps validation from others, a new form of anguish unfolded. Secondary trauma, those insidious aftershocks that ripple through your life long after the original quake. It might have started subtly, a well-intentioned friend offering advice from a place of untouched privilege, a therapist parroting conventional wisdom without delving into your unique story, or anonymous voices online dispensing platitudes as if they held the universal key to peace. Their words, cloaked in seeming enlightenment, hit like unexpected barbs. They're still your parents. Honor them. Be the bigger person. Extend compassion even if it's not reciprocated. Forgiveness isn't for them. It's for you. Let go of the bitterness before it consumes you. Respond to their resentment with unwavering virtue, and you will rise above it all. And in that instant, a torrent of self-doubt surged through you. The anger you'd finally permitted yourself to acknowledge now felt like a personal failing. The ongoing hurt a sign of weakness, as if you were somehow deficient in your spirituality, your morality, or your capacity for growth by not erasing the past with a simple act of will. Guilt became your unwelcome companion, shame a shadow that followed you, whispering that your inability to move on made you lesser, broken, unworthy of the healing you'd fought so hard for. But oh, dear one, here's the profound truth they fail to see, the one that resonates so deeply with every survivor who's walked this path. The secondary trauma isn't just an add-on. It's a whole new battlefield, layered with judgments from those who haven't endured your storms and betrayals from those you dare to trust. It's the sting of having your narrative rewritten by outsiders who demand you conform to their ideals of forgiveness, without acknowledging the validity of your timeline, your process, your right to protect yourself. It's the exhaustion, mental, emotional, spiritual, of constantly navigating a world that expects you to perform resilience while invalidating your pain. And when you trust the wrong people, that's a wound that cuts even deeper. Opening up to someone who seems like a kindred spirit, sharing the raw edges of your story, only to have them twisted, perhaps minimizing it with, "It couldn't have been that bad," or using it against you in moments of conflict, or simply withdrawing when your needs become too much. Each instance adds to the pile, a cumulative weight that leaves you questioning not just others, but yourself. Music, envision this scene, one that might resonate all too familiarly. A survivor, having carried the weight of their past for so long, finally finds a moment of vulnerability. They sit across from someone they believe is safe, perhaps in a cozy cafe, a support group circle, or even behind the screen of a trusted online connection. And they share. Not everything, but enough. A glimpse into the abuse, the lingering effects, the hard-won steps toward healing. It doesn't matter the venue. What lingers is the raw exposure, the fragile hope that this act of courage will be met with understanding. And if you've ever poured out your truth only to have it met with judgment, dismissal, or outright betrayal, you know the response isn't a thunderclap of pain. It's a gradual erosion, a quiet crumbling within, like a once sturdy bridge sighing under too much strain until it softly gives way. Your heart doesn't wail. It retreats inward, murmuring with weary resignation. I open the door, and now the cold rushes in again. How much more can I endure? Those who've survived abuse hold this resonance in their core, an unspoken bond with others who felt the same echoes. And the poignant irony is that these secondary layers often sneak up on you. You don't notice their full impact until the accumulation manifests as a pervasive fatigue, a dimming of your inner light. Someone inquires innocently, "Why haven't you forgiven yet?" Holding grudges only hurts you, and you grapple with how to explain that it's not about grudges. It's about the relentless mental toll of having your experiences scrutinized, your emotions policed, your healing path critiqued by those who haven't lived it. It's not stubbornness. It's the protective numbness that envelopes you when your mind has processed too many invalidations, too many betrayals, leaving you emotionally marathon weary without a finish line in sight. Outsiders often romanticize healing as a phoenix-like rise, a display of unyielding strength. But for you, it's more akin to tending a fragile garden in unpredictable weather, nurturing growth amid setbacks, only to have secondary traumas like judgmental weeds choke the progress. The mental exhaustion is palpable. Sifting through conversations for hidden barbs, discerning genuine support from superficial sympathy, rebuilding trust after each fracture. Your psychology evolves from this crucible, the original scars interwoven with new ones, creating a tapestry of depth and caution. There's a magnetic gravity to your presence, eyes that hold unspoken stories, a listening ear tuned to nuances others miss, a deliberate pause that weighs words for safety. You master the art of folding emotions into manageable forms, pressing on through inner chaos with a composure that belies the storm. Delving deeper, psychologists frame this as secondary traumatic stress amplified by chronic invalidation, a cascade where external doubts reactivate the neural alarm systems forged in abuse. Your nervous system, primed for danger, now scans every interaction, hypervigilant to tonal shifts that might signal judgment, anticipating the sting of betrayal in warm overtures, bracing against the emotional depletion of misplaced trust. If you've ever found yourself dissecting a simple exchange hours later, questioning motives, or feeling utterly drained after what should have been uplifting, this is the empathetic resonance of your journey speaking. It's your mind's adaptive genius at work, erecting emotional fortifications not out of paranoia, but from hard-learned lessons. Exhaustive, yes, but a profound act of self-preservation in a world that hasn't always honored your vulnerability. As healing progresses, these imprints endure, subtle yet influential, like echoes in a vast chamber. You become adept at the unspoken curriculum of survival, interpreting silences laden with unspoken critiques, detecting undercurrents of tension before they surface, maneuvering around potential conflicts with the finesse of a diplomat in hostile territory. You learn to make yourself smaller in the face of judgmental scrutiny, to calm the room while your pulse races, to rebound from disappointments with a speed born of necessity rather than choice. These skills aren't mere personality quirks. They're resilient adaptations, psychological blueprints redrawn by life's demands, ensuring you navigate a landscape where trust can turn treacherous. And within this, there's an exquisite tenderness, a softness honed by the harshest edges. Knowing the bite of judgment fosters in you a compassion that reaches where others falter. You've been immersed in pain's curriculum, emerging with an empathy that sees beyond facades, recognizing that judgmental words often mask others' insecurities or unprocessed traumas. This resonance makes you a natural confidant. People gravitate to your understanding, sharing their burdens, because you hold space without agenda. Yet, the hidden cost is steep, the quiet exhaustion that accrues not solely from your past, but from these ongoing secondary assaults. Energy siphoned by defensive explanations, trust fractured by unreliable allies, mental clarity fogged by the constant vigilance. Let this image resonate. You're in the midst of offering solace to another, drawing from your well of hard-earned wisdom, when a subtle shift occurs within. Not a rejection of them, but a self-protective retreat as your finite reserves signal it's time to conserve. This fatigue manifests quietly. No grand breakdowns, but in softened engagements, briefer connections, a gentle fading into the background. You bear the load with grace. The legacies of abuse, the judgments of the present, the uncertainties ahead, while inwardly longing for a reprieve, a space where strength isn't perpetually demanded. Curious minds often ponder why survivors like you favor solitude, why trust unfolds so gradually. But it's not detachment. It's a sacred safeguard, a resonance with the time's vulnerability invited more pain. You've cultivated self-reliance as a haven, to introspect without interference, to heal wounds in private, to nurture your spirit when external support proved inconsistent. Independence becomes your gentle armor, not isolation by choice, but a harmonious balance born from empathy for your own needs. This multifaceted psychology reveals itself in beautiful contradictions. A heart open to depths, yet guarded at the gates. Care extended freely, yet vulnerability meted out wisely. Presence fully given, yet with an undercurrent of caution. Connection isn't avoided. It's cherished, approached with the reverence it deserves, mindful of vulnerability's potential pitfalls, misunderstandings that wound, exploitations that deplete, imbalances that exhaust. Yet, let this affirmation echo loudly. Every facet of you makes perfect, resonant sense. Your caution is enlightened foresight, your exhaustion evidence of your immense capacity for feeling, your empathy a radiant gift to a weary world. This isn't breakage, it's masterful adaptation, your mind authoring a symphony of survival where others see only discord. In the midst of fatigue, beauty blooms. The profound way you love, with a loyalty that endures, appreciating fleeting kindnesses as lifelines, attuned to life's subtleties in ways that enrich every moment. You hold peace sacred because turmoil was routine, authenticity precious because deception has scarred. Astonishingly, you persist, mending not as an invincible force, but as a soul who's reassembled itself from fragments, time and again. Wisdom flows from this endurance, maturity from unraveling emotional tangles solo, self-awareness from heeding exhaustion's subtle cues. Beneath the surface simmers a tender grief, for innocence eclipsed by judgment, joy tempered by betrayal, openness curtailed by exhaustion. But this sorrow doesn't diminish. It polishes, instilling purpose, amplifying empathy, deepening introspection that transforms suffering into sage insight. If these words resonate, if you're the survivor bearing secondary burdens and mental weariness, embrace this. You've transcended mere survival. You've alchemized it into something transcendent. Your empathy bridges worlds, your resonance heals quietly. Claim your power, curate nourishing bonds, fortify boundaries compassionately, reclaim vitality from draining vortices. You've evolved through tempests, wielding quiet power, not compelled fortitude, but empowered choice. Your narrative isn't fracture, it's profound harmony, converting trauma's echoes into hope's symphony, exhaustion into self-compassion's embrace. You stand as a luminous beacon, guiding with the light of lived truth, affirming that from profound depths emerges unbreakable, resonant strength.